Good morning. We are live from River Valley Room.
Good morning. I will call the May 9th meeting of the Utility Committee to order and start with, I'm going to stop. We've got an echo somewhere. Good morning then. I'd like to start by acknowledging that we meet today on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory in the Métis homelands and acknowledge the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, the Dene, the Saulteaux, Blackfoot, the Nakota Sioux, as well as Métis and Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. I will start with a roll call of committee members. Councillor Paquette.
Good morning.
Good morning. Councillor Jans.
Good morning.
Good morning. Councillor Salvador.
Good morning.
Good morning. Councillor Stevenson.
Good morning.
Councillor Tang.
Good morning.
And we're also joined this morning by Mr. Beckett, the Utility Committee Advisor, and Councillor Principe.
Good morning.
Good morning, Councillor Rice.
Good morning.
Good morning, and I think that's all. So I'll take a motion for adoption of the agenda.
I'll move adoption of the May 9th, 2023 Utility Committee agenda.
Right, thank you. Please vote.
Yes, for me.
Yes, for me as well.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. Approval of the minutes.
I'll move the approval of the minutes from the January 30th, 2023 Utility Committee.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Salvador. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. Protocol items. I think we have one walking in the door. So we are joined today by the grade 1 class from Elmwood School with their teacher, Jamie Aker. Good morning. Ms. Aker. You're right. You're absolutely right. From Ward Sipawiniwak. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who is the counselor. Is that Sarah? I'm not sure if Sarah's with us, but thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to talk all about water and wastewater and utilities. It's going to be fun. Good morning. Any other protocol items? Not aware of any. Selection of items for debate. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. I'll select item 7.2 and happy to select item 7.1 as well, unless someone else wanted the honors. No? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's both items. We have no items to vote on then, I don't think. Nope. Request to speak. Councillor Stevenson.
I'll move that on item 7.2 we hear from William Langenberg from the Alberta #1 Geothermal Energy Project, joining us remotely.
Thank you. Please vote on hearing from that speaker.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. Requests for specific time on the agenda, not aware of any. I may, though, make a motion at this point to change the orders of the day. It is the Mayor's State of the City address, I think of which most of us, if not all of us, are attending. So I'm going to move that we change the orders of the day to adjourn for our lunch break at 11:30 and re-adjourn if necessary at 1:45 this afternoon. Please vote on those changes.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that is carried. Are there any councillor inquiries today? Not aware of any. Very good. Takes us then to item 7.1, EPCOR Water Services, Inc. And please come on forward. I believe we have a presentation. We'll go through that first and then move from there.
Okay, good morning, members of the Utility Committee. So we're here to give you the process and timeline report for water and wastewater services. But maybe before we do that, we've had a few changes in the roster here, so to speak, at EPCOR. So I thought we'd start with some introductions. My name is Frank Manarino. I am the incoming SVP of Water Services, which is the integrated water and drainage utility that will be effectively stood up here in early July. I am replacing Sean Bradford, who was the SVP of Water Services, and Steve Stanley, who is currently the SVP of Drainage. So this is the first step really in the discussion around we are intending to integrate these utilities from a financial point of view and a regulatory point of view. So I'd like to introduce Saqib Chaudhary to my left, who's our Director of the Integrated Regulatory Services. So Saqib replaces Daryl Manning, who was retired from EPCOR. And what I'm going to do now is turn it over to him to take you through the way we envision the PBRs of water and drainage coming together in an integrated fashion over the next several years, and looking for your feedback on that. Thank you.
Good morning. The purpose of our presentation this morning is to provide Utility Committee with an understanding of EPCOR Water Services process for the renewal of the Drainage and Wastewater Treatment Bylaw, which expires March 31, 2025. By providing an outline of our proposed approach, planned content, and timeline, we trust this will provide Utility Committee with an opportunity to provide input that will allow us to align our application with Utility Committee's desired outcomes. Could we advance the slides? Thank you. And just one more, please. So EPCOR's Drainage and Wastewater 2025 to 2027 regulatory applications will be structured very similar to how we've structured our rate applications in the past. So we will be continuing under a PBR framework, and this approach is intended to provide stability and certainty to ratepayers through rate increases reflecting inflation offset by an efficiency factor adjusted for any special rate adjustments. And it'll also ensure that there's clearly defined performance standards to ensure safe, reliable service for our customers. We're proposing a 3-year term for the Drainage and Wastewater PBR, which will allow for a future consolidation with the Water PBR in 2028. Consolidation with the Water PBR will provide future efficiencies in the development, review, and approval of EPCOR's future rate applications. Next slide, please. This next slide summarizes our application format. We do not intend to make any significant changes from the format that we've used in the past. However, the key takeaways from this slide are We will continue to submit separate schedules and rates for each of the utilities. All capital projects exceeding $5 million for the wastewater utility and $10 million for the drainage utility will be fully supported by business cases for utility committee's review and will be underpinned by our integrated resource plans. Next slide, please. As we develop our rate applications for the upcoming PBR, focus areas for our capital projects and programs will include considerations related to customer affordability, alignment with the city goals and objectives, equity considerations, and coordination of planning through the full water cycle. In addition, to create a more efficient process to incorporate utility committee input, we plan to bring forward a number of discussion items in advance of filing the PBR application, which I'll detail over the next few slides here. Next slide, please. So there's 8 different topics or discussion papers which we plan to bring forward in advance of the actual application filing, and I'll provide a brief overview. So first, our stakeholder engagement strategy. So we'll provide an update to Utility Committee on our planned approach on stakeholder engagement to ensure we have appropriately considered stakeholder input as we develop our application. We'll also provide a review of our rate structure and rate strategy and design to ensure costs are allocated fairly and in an equitable manner and in accordance with accepted regulatory practices. We'll also provide a review of the impact and appropriateness of the continued use of a deferral account associated with consumption forecasting. Next slide, please. We'll also provide a review of developer funding to ensure that there's an appropriate balance of costs between developers and customers. We'll also provide Utility Committee with a review of approaches to cost of capital, including suggestions on alternative approaches. We'll also provide Utility Committee with a report on how our capital projects, operational projects, can better address issues associated with inequity amongst our customers and support city objectives for sustainability, social responsibility, and affordability. Next slide, please. And finally, we'll provide a review of the PBR performance metrics and to ensure that alignment with desired outcomes, and also we'll provide an update on our integrated resource plans for the sanitary and wastewater treatment utilities. As I mentioned before, these long-term plans underpin the capital that will be reflected in our PBR applications. And that brings us to our last slide. Next slide, please, which details the timeline for our application. So we anticipate filing our application May 31, 2024, which will allow for implementation of rates by April 1, 2025. In our view, and this is supported in the City Administration Report, this should provide an appropriate amount of time for Utility Committee to assess, review, and approve our application. Furthermore, the timing is consistent with timing that we've utilized in the past in non-election years. This concludes my presentation, and we're open to any follow-up and questions from Utility Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go first to Mr. Beckett to see if he has any comments on the presentation or on the report.
My only comment is this looks great.
Awesome. We'll go then first to Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, well, I would definitely echo that. I think this is a really exciting process that you've laid out. Really looking forward to the discussions that come forward. A few quick ones. I'm really interested in looking at opportunities to accelerate our climate mitigation and adaptation work. I was just wondering if that maybe fits under the metrics review, or does that maybe need to be a standalone discussion paper potentially? And not to answer now, but maybe just a thought to consider.
Maybe I'll make a couple of comments on that. That's very clearly top on mind. We are, as you know, working on a significant flood mitigation project, which is probably outside of our carbon reduction strategy with the solar farm and the green procurement that we're pursuing is probably the biggest climate change related item. We need to weave that into this discussion, so I totally appreciate your comment.
Great, thank you. With the developer funding review as well, and actually, sorry, before with climate change as well, I think what would be very helpful for me as well, if we could look at some trade-offs. So again, if we go faster, what does that mean for rates, or what does that mean for the dividend potentially, just so we can have that really informed discussion. Developer funding review, I'm always anxious around that, just given that some of the standards in Volume 4 need to be updated. And so when we're figuring out the cost allocation, for me, that first step is understanding what the actual costs need to be and ensuring that we're not overbuilding our infrastructure. So just wondering how the timing of that work. I believe Volume 4 is sort of waiting on the zoning bylaw renewal, but just wanting to ensure that we get that all in the right order or the right sequence.
So, Councillor Stevenson, I'll need to get back to you on the timing of that, but I agree it is important to bring something back to Utility Committee sooner rather than later, because we'll have to reflect those impacts in our proposed application.
Yeah, because I think there's a real order of magnitude when we look at cost sharing with our current standards. The cost could be really significant, and I think that changes how we talk about how we allocate. Whereas if we have the revised standards. Yeah, it changes the conversation potentially.
Yeah, no, so great feedback. So one of the things I'll point out is it looks like there's a lot of time, but it's a fairly aggressive schedule in terms of discussion papers that need to come forward. So basically every utility committee meeting, a couple are going to come forward. It would be helpful to us if you had a sense of the precedents that you would like to see them in. If you prefer to see something sooner versus later, so we can certainly take the developer funding one sooner, if that is your preference.
Or it might make sense for that to be one of the later ones, so that other work can happen first. Yeah, that's a great idea to change the order of that. And maybe just in my last 2 minutes, just out of curiosity, I think the performance-based rates make so much sense. Really appreciate how they've been implemented. I think it's led to great value. And we've never been in, at least as far as I know, we've never been in a situation where penalties are being applied. I think we've exceeded all of the metrics that have been set. But just wondering, again, because we wear both a regulator hat and a shareholder hat, when penalties are applied, does that impact the dividend, or is that other discretionary spending, like staff bonuses? How does that play out?
I mean, ultimately, when there's a penalty, if a penalty were to be applied, theoretically, it goes onto the shareholder side of the ledger. It's set up this way. If you can imagine scenarios where you have shareholders that are not the regulator, you effectively, at this point, it just moves from one side of the line to the other. But clearly, it does impact the performance of the business units and the individuals involved, so there will be an impact there as well, a negative impact, I would say, if we significantly miss a target. So.
Okay, well, that's really interesting context as we go into this process. Thank you. Those were all my questions. Again, really looking forward to the discussions ahead.
Thank you. Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, thank you. This looks great. I also don't have too many questions, but along similar lines of thought to Councillor Stevenson, when I look at the overarching considerations, the affordability, alignment with city goals, equity, and coordinated planning, is the assumption then that, or am I correct in understanding that those considerations would be sort of lenses applied to each of the discussion papers, and that would be the frame for conversation? Is that correct?
Yeah, go ahead, Sakib. Yeah.
Generally, yes. I think those are all considerations when we're planning our projects, as well as assessing different options for approaches to, for example, developer funding. We understand that the city has certain goals in regards to promotion of densification and infill. So definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And then just digging in a little bit on the developer funding piece, can we expect to see in those discussion papers some consideration given to the work that's happening as part of growth management framework on the city side? I'm thinking about some of the strategic infrastructure upgrades that we might be wanting to make alongside EPCOR. to facilitate some of that higher density development as you described in alignment with city plan along those nodes and corridors. Is that where that conversation would be housed? Because I think that's a big one.
So Councillor Stevenson, or Salvador, my apologies. So that's something that we're still working to develop that paper on developer funding, but that definitely is a consideration we can incorporate.
Okay, excellent. Great. I think that actually covers it for me. Really looking forward to these discussion papers and digging into all of these fantastic topics. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Councillor Tang.
Thank you. Really thorough, so thank you very much. I just have a few questions, maybe out of curiosity. Like you said, the timeline is fairly aggressive and there's a lot going on. But maybe you can just verify if I'm reading this right, but the timeline's around 240 to 270 days, whereas the previous round was 190 days. That sounds like an even more aggressive timeline. I just want to know if that's kind of typical and never really sat through a PBR discussion. I was kind of curious why, I guess like what's different if you're largely going to be following a similar structure.
Sorry, maybe I'll start and I'll turn it over to Sakib. And I use the word aggressive. What I think is aggressive here is from where we are today to when we intend to file in spring of 2024. And we just told you we needed to discuss 8 different topics with you. And they're all big topics. And you have high degree of interest in them, which is great. So that's the part that I think is just going to be a bit aggressive for us to develop them and for you to consider them. I think once we file the application, the timeline is set for 270 days. Hopefully that time period is ample enough for you to consider the application. And the strategy here is to precede or pre-have, if you will, the discussion on some of these meatier topics ahead of time so that hopefully when you get the application, all that feedback is reflected in the application and we're not starting from ground zero discussion on equity or developer funding and all these things that are really big topics. So I hope that helps context it a bit, but maybe I'll... Yeah,
no, it's just that it's significantly longer. I'm guessing you're learning from lessons learned from maybe the last round and just allowing more time for people to soak that in. And I think as I was going through this report, I was thinking, well, in addition to maybe really diving into these discussion papers, I imagine there will be further meetings to kind of really understand the nitty gritty, what other things can I do to really get myself ready for that process. So that timing is certainly appreciated. And I guess just one thing I was curious, and I don't know if my mic is sounding better because I understand I was cutting in and out earlier. I guess I was curious about the metrics review. And so if structure or it'll be largely remain largely the same, but you'll still do the review to kind of see what worked and what didn't really work this past while. And I guess it's too early for you to share like what that might be, but that will be part of these considerations.
That's correct, Councillor Tang. And the intent of the metrics review is to assess that are these the right standards? Do they align with the city's objectives? And should we make any modifications to them? Should we add any metrics that might be important to the city? And so that's the intent.
Okay. And then one thing on your schedule, can you just clarify the councillor information request? Is that related to the papers or no?
No, that would relate to the application that's filed at the end of May.
So in the regulatory speaks, when we put in an application, you as the regulator have the opportunity to question us on the application. So they use the short-term IR information request for that. So you would read the application and say, I've got these X number of questions that I don't understand, or how does this work? And so we would be prepared, fully prepared, of course, to answer those to help you assess the application.
So there is a written feedback process as part of this.
And we would submit written responses to questions typically.
Gotcha. And then the papers will will come forward further to elaborate on some of those topics.
Yeah, so we will have gone through these papers and seeded these discussions
Okay.
earlier in the process. Once
Okay,
the
good.
application goes in, you still have an opportunity to question the content of that application.
Gotcha, okay.
So-
Okay, lots of work ahead. Appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, you should have been here last time. Yeah. Councillor Stevenson. Oh, pardon me, Councillor Jens.
Thank you for this. I just wanted to echo the concerns of my colleagues around our densification goals, our infill goals, our climate goals, the concerns about excess capacity or not. I was wondering, just with the thresholds, I note the $5 million. Is that consistent or is that a change?
That is consistent with our previous application.
And do we have a lot of, oh, sorry, echo there. Do we have a lot of work that goes under that threshold? Like, is the 5 million? Should it be 4 million or 6 million? Like, how did we arrive at that number? And is it still appropriate given construction cost and escalations and everything else?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, you would see under that threshold, particularly on the water side, a large number of smaller projects, programs that constitute a good chunk of the capital. It's not that we don't have justifications for those. They are in totality a lot of separate documents and justifications. We have a very detailed process for justifying it all. But from a cutoff point of view, this is what was used last time. We think it's appropriate. On the drainage side, it's a little higher. Drainage projects tend to be very lumpy and large, and so, as you know, and so that's why the cutoff is where it is. But your point is good. You know, construction costs have gone up. We can certainly go back and look at that and see if we perhaps need to consider a different cutoff. Thank you.
Can I ask Mr. Beckett? I appreciate you say it looks good. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that, about what about it looks so good? Is it the timelines? Is it the consultation? Is it the thoroughness? Could you elaborate a little more as someone who's been through this?
Well, the thing that really stood out to me was the pre-discussion of important topics before the filing of the application. We found in the past that if we have to dive into those issues during the application process, it takes a lot of time and is probably pretty inefficient. But if we can have those discussions prior to the filing of the application, I think it makes the whole process work a lot better. And so that was the part that I was quite I hate to use the word complimentary because you shouldn't compliment a utility for doing its job, but I think it's a good approach and one that will, in the long run, save a lot of time and effort.
Right. So the fact that it's geared around certain values, affordability, sustainability, equity. I'm assuming sustainability is both in the financial sense and the environmental eco sense. Those are the right values to be going forward to guide this work and direction?
Yes, that would be correct. I would agree with you on that.
Okay. I had another question. This may be a later question, but is there any thought given to syncing or synchronizing work with the city around renewal and other projects? Is that going to be considered in here about how we look at certain projects?
Yeah, that's always an ongoing discussion between EPCOR and the city. Like, we try to the best of our abilities, I think, to synchronize because we realize we're impacting the same individual or customer at the end of the day. It's challenging sometimes to do that, but certainly that is definitely, even at an operational level, regardless of where we are in the regulatory cycle, something that we consider strongly. But if you have any other comments.
Maybe that's something we could have in the future, either a report on or a few success stories, because I've been getting a number of just the opposite, that, first we were chopped up for neighborhood renewal, then we were chopped up for FIC, we're being chopped up for EPCOR, and now we're being, so I do not believe that view is shared by the constituents in mature neighborhoods in my area. So any help refuting that would be helpful.
Okay, we could probably look to get you some information on that separate and in advance of this, but certainly happy to have that conversation anytime. As I said, it is challenging, and certainly I totally sympathize from the individual's perspective. It often plays out as you've described, but we can take that away. Thank you.
Yeah, it's probably tangential to here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. I will put forward the motion that the May 9th, 2023 Financial and Corporate Services Report, FCS 01845, be received for information.
Great, thank you. Any further questions? Anyone wishing to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevenson, anything to close?
Just to say thank you again for the work and really looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Please vote.
We are waiting on 2 votes.
Ain't none are coming through. I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Piquet. We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Look forward to all those intermediate discussions. Yeah. You need 2. Good morning. Please go ahead. Nice to see you.
Good morning. I'm Tom Lumsden. I'm the development manager of the Blatchford Redevelopment Office. And with me today is Christian Felsky, who's the director of Renewable Energy Systems, Harm Rai, and Stephen Chung from Financial and Corporate Services. Excuse me. We are here today to discuss a $23.7 million grant opportunity for the Blatchford Renewable Energy Utility received from Natural Resources Canada. I will now turn it over to Christian to speak to this.
Thank you, Tom, and good morning. Can we get the next slide, please? As you all know, Blatchford has an ambitious and exciting vision to be a 100% renewable, carbon-neutral community. Next slide, please. Blatchford Renewable Energy is a city-owned utility that provides sustainable heating, cooling, and domestic hot water services to the Blatchford community. The utility owns and operates the neighborhood's district energy sharing system, which uses geo-exchange and other sustainable energy sources to provide reliable and affordable services to our customers. The work the Blatchford utility does is in alignment with City Council's vision for Blatchford and can also be tied to several city visions and plans, including Connect Edmonton's and Council's strategic goal of climate resilience, the city plan, and the community energy transition strategy. Since the approval of the 4-year budget in December of last year, we have advanced design and delivery on many fronts. We are currently expanding Energy Center 1 to provide more capacity for growing development. And we are advancing distribution piping connection and design work to connect the next set of builders in the community. However, today we are shifting our focus to one of our other priority given by Council, namely the attraction of grant funding for initial capital investment in the utility. Next slide, please. We are very excited to report that we secured a $23.7 million funding opportunity from Natural Resources Canada's Smart Renewables and Electrification Pathway program to help us build out our sustainable utility. The $23.7 million was approved to undertake the following capital components of the utility build-out between 2023 and 2029. This includes the expansion of Energy Center 1 to its full capacity. That is work which is happening this and next year. We're also growing the distribution piping network, including thermal energy meters, throughout the growth of Blatchford between now and 2029. And lastly, to plan, design, and construct the sewer heat exchange energy center at the end of the NRCan funding cycle in the latter years of the grant program between 2027 and 2029. As mentioned at last year's budget deliberations, the progress and investment level for utility infrastructure is strongly related to the land development progress and building construction and sales activities on site. Administration will provide ongoing updates to Council and will only invest in infrastructure at that time when the energy demand is generated or expected in the community. As the next step to secure the federal grant, the city needs to enter into a funding agreement with the federal government. In the case of this program, the federal government will contribute up to a maximum of 30% of eligible project costs towards capital investment, with the applicant being responsible for the 70% balance. Before this can happen, NRCan needs confirmation from the city that the municipal match funding has been secured and approved by City Council. The report in front of you today recommends City Council approve the municipal matching funding of $55.3 million to utilize the $23.7 million in grant funding under the funding program. It should be noted that while this is the first grant the utility received, the opportunity exists to stack that grant or continue to apply for external grants in the future from other level of governments or organizations. To provide some further background on the financial impact of the funding and suggested next steps, I'm now handing the presentation over to Harm.
Thanks, Christian. Next slide. So we thought it was important to provide a bit of financial background and context related to the Blatchford utility to support the utility committee in making their decision today. The business case for the Blatchford utility requires $93.3 million in non-repayable cash from an external source to support the initial capital investment required to establish the utility. Projected cash flows from the utility on its own are not sufficient to cover the required capital cost to operate the utility. The cash infusion is key in enabling the achievement of two key principles in the utility fiscal policy. First, the cash injection is required to ensure that the utility becomes financially sustainable in the long run without any ongoing tax levy subsidization. And secondly, to ensure Blatchford utility customers pay a utility rate comparable to what they would pay elsewhere in the city. Without this $93.3 million in cash from an external funding source, the utility would not be financially sustainable at business as usual rates. Upon inception of the utility, various funding sources were considered to provide the $93.3 million in cash. The most suitable funding source was determined to be grants from other levels of government. Grants of $93.3 million would support the utility in achieving the long-term sustainability with no tax levy subsidization and having rates comparable to elsewhere in the city. So as of December 31st, 2022, $23 million of the initial $93.3 million in capital infrastructure required for the utility has been constructed. This includes expenditures related to the Geo Exchange field, Energy Center 1, the distribution piping system, energy meters, and the design work on the sewer heat exchange. As of the end of the 2022 calendar year, federal and/or provincial grant funding has not been secured. As there was no need to proceed with building utility infrastructure, The initial capital expenditures of $23.3 million were financed through self-supported tax guaranteed debt. So self-supported tax guaranteed debt was used in this case because the plan would be for the debt servicing to eventually be repaid through future rate revenues or grants. However, if sufficient rate revenues are not generated in the future or grants are not secured, the debt servicing would need to be repaid through tax levy revenues. As the utility is not yet self-sustaining, the capital costs have been financed with self-supported tax guaranteed debt. Typically, a fully functioning utility with sustainable rate revenues finances capital through self-liquidating debt, as you would see in the case of our waste services utility. So to date, the utility has not generated sufficient revenues to pay for the annual debt servicing costs on the debt borrowed to date and other operating expenses to the end of 2022. So as a result, the total operating shortfall as of December 31st, 2022, including debt servicing costs, has been paid for the city through its cash or its working capital. The use of the city's working capital would be repaid by the utility once the utility has sufficient revenue sources. The balance owing from the utility to the city as of the end of 2022 is $7.7 million, which is equal to the utility's deficit retained earnings balance or its accumulated operating shortfalls. Next slide. So now turning back to the grant discussion. As Christian mentioned at the start of the presentation, the total project expenditures submitted through the grant application are $79.2 million. 30% of those expenditures, or $23.7 million, are funded through the federal grant, and 70% need to be matched by municipal funding in order to secure the grant. 70% of total project expenditures equates to $55.5 million municipal matching contribution. So this table on the slide here is also included in the report and summarizes the project expenditures submitted in the application, some of which have already been approved in the 23 to 26 utility and capital operating budgets, and some of which are being proposed for approval over 2026 to 2029 in this report. So this table also shows the approved and proposed funding sources for those costs. I'll take some time just going over this table because it's an important one and it's kind of confusing to walk through. So in the far right column, you can see that the total submitted project expenditures totaling to $79.2 million, and the breakdown of costs for each of the three capital projects included in the application, as well as the related operating costs. At the bottom of this table, you will see that the total required municipal contribution is $55.5 million, which is equal to 70% of the costs, and the grant would fund $23.7 million, or 30% of the costs. So a portion of the costs have already been approved in the 23 to 26 capital and operating budgets for the utility. So on the left of the table, on the left-hand side of the table, you will note that $16.5 million of the total $79.2 million in project costs were previously approved in the 23 to 26 capital budget. So now skipping over to the right side of the table, $900,000 in operating costs have also previously been approved in the 23 to 26 utility operating budget. The funding sources for these previously approved expenditures are also shown in the table. For the capital cost of $16.5 million already approved, as shown on the left side of the table, $11.6 million were financed through self-supported tax guaranteed debt, and $4.9 million will be funded through the federal grant we're receiving. These $4.9 million in costs were previously approved through debt as well. However, with recent federal grant offer, the funding sources for these expenses will be changed to debt. Will be changed from debt. This funding change is also included in the budget adjustment in attachment 2 of the report. For the operating costs of $900,000 on the right-hand side of the table, the funding source approved was retained earnings of $600,000 and now grant funding of $300,000. So the most important part is the remaining cost of $61.8 million of the total $79.2 million shown in the middle of this table, and that's what we're proposing for approval in this report, the middle section of the table. The proposed funding sources are $43.3 million in self-supported tax guaranteed debt and $18.5 million through the federal grant. So with that understanding, you can see, or I hope you can see, that the $55.5 million municipal contribution is already partially funded through previously approved budgets. So of the $55.5 million required municipal contribution, $11.6 million was previously approved through debt for capital expenditures and $600,000 through utility revenues. The remaining $43.3 million is proposed capital expenditures from 2026 to 2029 and is being recommended for financing through self-supported tax guaranteed debt, as reflected in the middle section of this table. Next slide. So as we discussed earlier, the utility requires $93.3 million in external grant funding from the federal and/or provincial governments in order to be financially sustainable. Without $93.3 million in grants to build the infrastructure of the utility, it will be difficult for the utility to be self-sustaining without support from tax levy operations and maintaining business as usual rates. Prior to the $23.7 million grant currently being discussed, no other external funding had been received. As such, in order to build the initial utility infrastructure, the utility had to borrow. The table on the slide summarizes borrowing as of December 31st, 2022 of $23 million, as well as forecasted borrowing. The forecasted borrowing includes debt that was approved to the 23 to 26 capital budget that we discussed last fall, of $28 million, and the proposed new borrowing included in the report in front of you today of $43.3 million, which is required for the matching contribution. The total of the debt borrowed to date and forecasted borrowing is $94.3 million. The table also reflects the total interest expense on this borrowing, which if fully borrowed is estimated to be $76.1 million. Total estimated debt servicing, including principal and interest, would be $170.4 million, as shown in the last column on this table. So it's important to understand the impacts of borrowing in place if we don't receive the grants and we continue to borrow. If grant funding is not secured and the utility continues to borrow to fund initial infrastructure costs, the debt servicing on the borrowing will need to be repaid by the utility or the tax levy. Again, if this turns out to be the case, it will be difficult for the utility to be self-sustaining without support from tax levy and/or maintaining rates that are comparable to elsewhere in the city. So administration will continue to pursue grant funding opportunities to minimize the amount of borrowing actually required. Administration continues to actively scan any possible federal and provincial grant funding opportunities that are available to the utility. At the current time, there is no grants available federally or provincially that would be suitable for the Blatchford utility based on our scan. Next slide. So in order to secure the federal funding in front of you today, the matching contribution is being recommended for financing through debt. That being said, the large majority of capital expenditures eligible for the grant are related to the sewer heat exchange and are forecasted to be incurred in 2028 and 2029. So even though administration is recommending debt to finance the required matching for the grant, the actual costs and potential related borrowing would not incur until 2028 at the earliest. And the capital projects will only be constructed, as Christian mentioned, based on need and the progress of development at Blatchford. So this will provide administration some more time to pursue other grant opportunities, including grants from the provincial government, which could be used to meet the matching requirements for this grant, which would limit the amount of borrowing actually required. Furthermore, the NRCan grant is a reimbursement type grant, which means that the grant will only be provided to reimburse expenses once they are incurred by the city. If the infrastructure is not required and built, the utility will not incur the costs, and the grant and the borrowing will not be required. The utility fiscal policy review is scheduled for this upcoming fall. This is an opportunity for committee and council to review key policy objectives in light of the current grant funding environment, including financial sustainability targets and business as usual rates. Administration also plans on updating the Blatchford utility financial model as a part of this discussion, considering higher than anticipated use of debt, progress on the Blatchford development, and revisiting other assumptions in the original business case and the financial model. So without the matching municipal contribution, the city would be giving up $23.7 million in grant funding that the federal government has already offered through this grant program. The objective of the utility has always been to secure grants for the $93.3 million required cash infusion. This grant helps towards that objective. There may be other funding opportunities on the horizon that align with the project. So based on what we have experienced so far and expect to see in the future, these grant opportunities are very rare. The agreement may take a few months to finalize and fully execute and needs to be signed by both parties. The sooner the agreement is finalized, the sooner we can start to claim eligible expenditures against the grant. Next slide. So I know that was a lot. In summary, today we are here requesting that Utility Committee recommend to Council to approve new capital expenditures from 2026 to 2029 funded through the federal grant and self-supported tax guarantee debt required for matching purposes. In summary, new capital expenditures being requested total $61.8 million, with funding of $18.5 million from the federal grant and $43.3 million in debt. Previously approved capital and operating expenditures eligible under the grant total $17.4 million, with funding of $11.6 million through debt and $600,000 through utility earnings and $5.2 million from this federal grant. If Utility Committee supports the recommendation being proposed today, the proposal will be brought forward to Council on June 13th, the same day as the spring supplemental capital budget adjustment. If approved by Council, administration will immediately begin work with the federal government to finalize the grant funding agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from our speaker, and our speaker is remote, so feel free to just stay where you're at. So we'll switch now to Willem Langenberg. I see you've joined us, Mr. Langenberg. I'll just note that you have 5 minutes to make your presentation, after which there may be some questions of councillors for you, and a timer should pop up in a window there somewhere for you. So please go ahead. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I hope you can see the screen. It's not completely, there's a bit at the bottom, but anyway, we're talking about the Blatchford project, and already 10 years ago when this was happening, Kathy Hickson and Jacek Majorowicz and me, we realized that we proposed that it was going to be deep geothermal. Unfortunately, the city decided to go with shallow geo-exchange. So next slide, please. We are talking just for deep geothermal. This is district heating that's been done in Germany and in the Netherlands, and it's using the deep heat. So next slide, please. If you look at the heat, and this is the geothermal gradients, we see that Edmonton has fairly good geothermal gradients. Next slide. If you look at the temperature at 1 kilometer depth, it's significant. At 1 kilometer, for example, there's the Devon hotspot, and we propose to have just a pilot deep geothermal project at Leduc number 1. Unfortunately, when Kenny came in, it was not possible anymore. So next slide, please. Existing deep Canadian geothermal project at Mount Meager. The important one is the deep project. This is in Regina, and this is for electricity, but they're also planning to use the heat. And in Alberta, we have Alberta number 1. This is by Terratex, and Kathy Hickson is the chief executive officer for this project. This is to generate electricity, but also heat. And Razor Energy is a combined geothermal waste heat and natural gas, and Ever is the closed loop. So let's look at the geology. Next slide, please. We have the Devonian carbonate platform, and so that's what since 1947 we generate energy there. Let's look at the literature. Next slide, please. Bit of detail. We won't need to look at it anymore. Next slide. We have a cross section, and this is in Devon, and so we know that the reservoir is at 1,600 meters. Next slide, please. We have a temperature at minimum 60 degrees. Next slide. So we designed the 2-well open loop doublet for that field. Next slide. So in Edmonton, we can, the cost, so we come up to, the well cost about $2 million. So next slide. For a doublet, it would be 4 million. So Devonian reservoirs have favorable porosity, permeability, and thermal conductivity for geothermal exploitation. These reservoirs are at 1,600 meters at Blatchford. So Blatchford is well suited for deep geothermal district heating. In district heating, deep geothermal is more economic than geo-exchange field. And it's clearly shown in Regina, where Kathy Hickson and Associated Engineering have done this study. And the important thing too is that the carbon footprint is way better. There's way less CO2 emissions in the deep geothermal. So in our opinion, there's no better thing than do this deep geothermal. The doublet could be built for 4 million, and the whole project could be done for 40 million. That means that $50 million would be saved by going deep geothermal. Because as you saw in my slides, in Regina, they were doing it for 50 million. So our 40 million, maybe it's on the low side, maybe it's 50 million, but it would still be a saving of 40 million. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions of our speaker?
So I've talked a little bit with Michael Jens about the project, but I don't see him anymore. So
well,
that's unfortunate.
Appreciate you your attempt to prompt some further dialogue. Maybe I'll take a run at it then. I guess what I hear you say, I'm not. So forgive me, but what is the current depth of the boreholes at Blatchford, from your understanding? Are they more shallow than what you're suggesting?
Way more shallow. Way more shallow. I haven't seen the detail, but in geo-exchange, you're going to 60 meters, maybe, at most.
Okay. Well, we can. Not right now. There's a process. Sorry, Christian. So we'll maybe get back to administration with a couple of questions on that. In this current conversation, the conversation we're having today has to do with a sewer heat exchange, effectively an energy transfer, as I understand it, and maybe tangentially a bit of a conversation around an expansion of the current energy center. I don't think we're talking about additional boreholes as part of the
No, I know you're not talking about any extra borehole, but you only need two boreholes in our proposal, and it's heating everything, all the houses. I don't know. I haven't seen the detail of the geo-exchange program, but I assume that's also for the heating of all these houses. Or are you still planning to have any gas going to the project?
Well, my recollection is we do, but I'm this
oh,
is
well,
no. This is.
It's not an option to even discuss between the two.
Well,
it's clear that go deep geothermal.
So you just said that 2 deep geothermal holes would quote unquote do the whole thing. I think that's what you said. So are you suggesting that a couple of deep geothermal holes would replace the sewer heat transfer center, or the entirety of Blatchford?
Well, I don't know. The entirety of Blatchford, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the detail of your sewage program, but I know from Regina there's a doublet, and the Netherlands is a district heating. I've been there. I've visited there. It's a doublet, and it's heating 4,000 houses. And in Germany, there's similar things. But district heating has been done since before the Second World War.
So
it's just North America is really slow in getting this going.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to interrupt you. I've only got a couple of minutes. So you don't know what 2 boreholes would replace in the Blatchford context?
They would replace the whole geothermal field, all the geo-exchange that you're planning.
Do you know if those other examples are ambient temperature loop utilities, or are they simply straight heat and heat exchange?
I don't understand your question. You saw the doublet. The doublet is they're pumping up hot water and disposing it again. And for example, the city of Regina, they needed 22 million BTU per hour. And so we get a similar, because the facility in Regina is a 2-kilometer deep thing with 60 degrees Celsius there, similar.
60 degrees Celsius is the change in temperature from fluid in to fluid out. Is that fair?
No, yeah. It's in the deep geothermal, you have 60-degree Celsius water that you're pumping up, and in the winter it's I think in the geo exchange it's only +4 or at the most +10.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah, I think that answers my question. Okay. Well, thank you. Those are all my questions. Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. I think can direct some of those questions to administration. Are you also familiar with the city's district energy strategy and sort of the scaling up of that strategy that's happening right now?
No, I'm not aware of the detail, but I know that it's being looked at. I've talked with Michael Jans on what's happening there.
Okay.
But,
yeah. I
mean, I'm familiar with the system in the Netherlands where, before the Second World War, they used in my city where I grew up, they used a district heating system, but they used coal to make gas, and then they were heating the whole city with this district.
Yeah, and I mean that could be another good opportunity to plug in to see where deep geothermal might be an opportunity as we look to build out that larger scale district energy strategy across the city in specific nodes.
But I think the Blatchford is ideal because you're starting from scratch. So
for sure, yeah, and we can definitely ask administration those questions as well. But just in that broader context, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that because it sounds like you have some expertise that might be valuable around that table. So that's it for me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But I would suggest just scrap the whole geo exchange system and replace it with the deep geothermal. You would save $50 million.
Okay, well, thank you. We appreciate your presentation today, Mr. Langenberg, and appreciate you sharing your report with us. And there may be some offline questions for you as we further examine Blatchford opportunities and that kind of thing. So thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will now go to Mr. Beckett just to offer any comments that he may have on the report and on the presentation today.
Thank you. I'm a little unclear around the process that's being suggested here, and it might be because I don't understand the city's capital approval process that well. But it seems to me council is being asked to approve expenditures out to 2027 in order to acquire the grant, but council is not committing to spending that money until it's actually required for the development of Blatchford. So what is the value of this commitment that council is being asked to make? A commitment to spend money, which will be spent unless it's not spent, doesn't seem like much of a commitment to me. I don't know if anybody else is having this problem, but it would help me if I understood a little better what the real impact of the commitment is.
Thank you. Going now to councillor questions. I'll start with Councillor Stevenson.
Well, thank you. I think I'll leave the questions of the deep geothermal to others to raise. I think it's a good discussion point. I mean, first off, very exciting, great that we have secured that $23 million in grant funding. And so my understanding is that we are pre-committing some funding in the 2027-2030 budget. Is that correct?
Correct.
And we need to do that because in the absence of that, we wouldn't be able to access the $23 million. Is that right? The Prairies Can just wouldn't provide us with that.
Correct.
And then the risk is that if we don't pre-approve at this point, we miss out on that 23 million. If we get to 2027, 2028, and we decide that we don't want to make that capital investment, do we just, return the money, the 23 million? Like, is that the only liability that we could potentially have? Or are there any other penalties for not using the grant funding?
So it's a reimbursement type of grant. So
Okay.
if you don't incur any eligible expenditures, you're not provided any funding from the federal government. So this is just securing the funding for the agreement.
Great. And from what I'm hearing, sort of at no risk. If we choose to not move forward with those capital expenditures in time, we don't apply for the reimbursement?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's great. Maybe just to delve in a little bit more. So the assumed interest rates of 6%, does BRE not have access to the Local Authorities Capital Financing Act? Like that, those rates just seemed high to me.
Yeah, so they would have the same access to the local authorities borrowing, and that's kind of our estimated borrowing. So we kind of incrementally increase it in our forecasts every year. So that factors that in, and we just kind of capped it at 6%. So on 25-year borrowing, I think currently you're sitting around close to 5%. So it's just a forecast of 6%. So that's what we would be borrowing as well for the city.
Interesting. And when we look at that annual servicing on, again, sort of worst case scenario, we're borrowing the full 70 million, I think, difference. That leads to a total cost of 170 million when you factor in the interest repayments. Could you translate that into sort of the annual tax levy impact, like as a % increase per year over that time?
Yeah, so just quickly going over that table. So that first column is the principal, so 94.3, and then you got your interest on that of 76, and that's if you borrow everything. The total debt servicing cost would be $170.4 million. So the equivalent to like a tax levy increase would be your utility rate impact per customer. So we haven't done that here. We're just showing what the total commitment is for interest if you draw on that debt. So we didn't do a tax levy comparison just because it's not relevant in this circumstance, I would say.
But it seems like we do get to a point where we need to decide between putting it on the rate structure or putting it on tax levy. Is that, and I guess my biggest question is when do we have to make that final choice? Is that just theoretical at this point? We don't actually have to make that decision until we're making, the go-ahead decisions of spending the capital sort of in 2027, 28?
So I'll start, and then maybe Stacey can also add to the answer here. But so I would say it's an ongoing risk. So we're borrowing to build right now as we're going. The more you borrow, eventually you're gonna have to repay that. And the objective is always just try to secure grant funding to repay that. You will eventually get to a point if you don't get any grants, where you're going to have to figure out a way to repay that. And that could impact the sustainability, or you may have to look at your rate policy.
Right. But again, we're not going to be borrowing until 28.
Right. In this particular situation for this grant, the majority of the expenditures are going to be in 2028 and 2029, and great. So as you start incurring those expenditures, that's when you would probably borrow, and you're only going to incur those expenditures if there's a demand to build the infrastructure.
To build it. Perfect. Okay. And then just to confirm, it would be in our restricted debt envelope because it's match funding?
Correct. Yep. It would be in your 21% kind of a limit, and you're currently sitting around, I think, 73% of that. So it would just be added onto that.
Okay. Excellent. I'll have a couple other questions, but appreciate that clarity.
Thank you, Councillor Jens.
Yeah. Thank you. I was wondering if the administration would like to respond to some of the pieces shared by Mr. Langenberg. I think I saw someone's hand up during his presentation.
Yeah, I can do that, Councillor Jans. Just some clarification. We do have a geo-exchange field. It's about 150 meters deep. The difference between geo-exchange and geothermal is the depth and the products, the depth of the wells and the products you're getting out. And I'm no technical expert, but I think maybe in general terms, when we ended up with the district energy sharing system as a technology for Blatchford, there was a lot of work being done previously to evaluate, I would say, other technologies which apply to, I think, the vision of Blatchford provided by council. So at the time we looked at geothermal, we looked at other technology, biomass comes to mind, other examples of how we are providing heating.
I don't think it's quite right what you
Sorry,
say.
I'm sorry, Mr. Langenberg.
The deep
Mr. Langenberg.
geothermal was not considered.
Mr. Langenberg, I'm sorry, you're not permitted to interject anymore. We'll have to mute your microphone. I'm sorry. Please continue, Christian.
So we did feasibility work to end up where we are with the utility and the technology we've been working for a number of years now. I don't know if there's other specific questions, Councillor Jans.
Well, is I guess part of the contemplation here, if there are other technologies or opportunities that are interested in being explored, is that an ongoing process, or are we fairly fixed and committed at this point? Like if we do want to explore depth or something else, is that how far along are we here?
Yeah, there's absolutely commitment for us to look at technology in this space. Is developing very fast, as we probably all know. It needs to fit from the technology perspective. It needs to fit from the financial perspective. But we also need to plan, and then I think part of it why we have to plan how we are here today to look at the next set of build out. But by all means, if there's an emerging technology we would have a look at, we would evaluate it, and we would bring it back to council.
Excellent, thank you. So just to be clear on the ask today, part of the genesis why this is coming forward now in May 2023 is because of the matching funding secured by the federal government. Is that correct? That's why we're seeing it now?
Correct.
Okay, so had the funding not been secured, what would be the typical process?
Sorry, just to clarify, Councillor, if the $23.7 million hadn't been secured?
Yes.
So if the $23.7 million isn't secured, so we would lose that.
Oh, sorry, no, let me clarify. Like, if the reason we're here is because the federal government has put up a check, if that check did not exist, if the federal government was not bringing forward that check, what would normally happen? This would be a four-year capital budget ask in the 2025 budget? Is that 2026?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so the urgency here is because of securing the matching funding, and if we don't, then we lose out on that.
Correct.
And is there any indication from, like, this is something I imagine that previous councils applied for, or they asked for, or were we approached by the feds with the matching envelope?
So we've been working on trying to get funding for basically since the inception of the project. There was various attempts to get funding, various lobbying, I believe, on behalf of council and the mayor. But this is the first one we were really successful with.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go back to the deep geo for just a moment. My understanding is that deep geothermal provides heat, provides hot water that you then go and heat buildings with. It's almost like replacing a boiler. Whereas we're using an ambient temperature philosophy on a closed loop, which provides both heating and potentially cooling, correct?
That's correct.
So is that why we have a different depth of borehole or a different design philosophy generally?
Yeah, we obviously matching what is slated to be built in Blatchford and what's slated to fit best the vision of council in terms of residential heating and cooling, right from that system.
And I'm calling them boreholes, perhaps I've got the name wrong, but we've drilled all the holes we're drilling for a while.
We drilled the first geo-exchange field for a while. We built it in 2018 or so. There's about 570 of them.
And so I just want to back up a step on this sort of the capital plan, the sequence of capital planning. So we've got that the first part of the field or the first half of the field. We've built the first energy center. We're augmenting that energy center with natural gas fueled boilers, like as sort of that's what's the word I'm looking for? Peaking factor. Thank you. Yeah, right. We're doing that at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. We are also adding heat pump capacity.
Right.
At the same time, so it's basically the heat transfer you spoke about earlier. The boilers are backup, and we're also building a peaking facility for reasons we laid out last year.
Right.
Sort of like for this.
So that's our capital sequence.
Could I
I'm
say
sorry,
something
Mr.
here?
Langenberg. I'm sorry. You're no longer part of the conversation. I don't know whether they had put it. So that's where we're at. Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, I would like to, if I may, expand the offer for Mr. Langberg to get in touch and provide some.
Yeah, I was going to do that as well. So Mr. Langenberg, you're welcome to contact city administration and the Blatchford experts here to have a further conversation about your theories, and we'll make sure that you're connected in that way. Thanks, Christian, for that offer.
Okay.
So we've got. I'm running out of time. We've got our borehole field. We've got our first energy center. We're going to augment that for peaking. It's a bit of a distraction. We're putting more pipe in the ground to distribute more of our heat, for lack of a better word, our fluid. We have this sewer heat exchange. Those are the next things we're building. Yeah, fair?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Now, my understanding from previous conversations was that this $93 million injection was to see the utility whole on the entirety of its life. So that once if we're going to need $93 million to build the things we just talked about, plus Energy Center 2, Energy Center 3, Energy Center 4, put more boreholes in the ground, put more distribution piping in the ground, so that this $93 million was going to be the injection required for the entirety of the utility over time. And now it sounds like it's going to be consumed in the next few steps or in the next energy center. Was I wrong in that previous understanding, or?
So I can say that, yeah, you're correct that the $93.3 million is required over the total term of the utility. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be answering your question here, but I'll try and then let me know if I have. So I think what we're flagging here is that the idea was maybe to get a lot of the initial capital infrastructure built to those grants to get the utility up and running. So we haven't been successful in securing the grants, so we're borrowing kind of in the interim here. So eventually, if we get grants down the road, that would be helpful. But if those don't come to fruition, then you're kind of locked into some of this interest on the debt that you've borrowed to kind of to fill that gap.
And we seem to see where we can consume roughly $78 million of that $93 million with these next steps. So does that, if all went well, that presumes then our rate revenue would effectively pay back this debt and begin to develop a surplus potentially before we get to the next. I'm just not, there's a lot of math here, and when we talked about this $93 million injection, it was because the rates couldn't keep up with the debt. But if we're front-loading the debt, then the rates begin to keep up and then some.
So yeah, that's true, Councillor Cartmel. I think the one thing I'll just add to that is that if you're borrowing such a large amount in the early stages of the utility, the interest accumulates on the debt that you're borrowing. So you're having to ultimately repay more than $93.3 million in cash infusion. So that's kind of the caveat
if we have
there.
To do it on, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm out of time. Sorry. Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, thank you. So just to be crystal clear, the 6% is the forecast. We're not necessarily going to be borrowing at that, correct? For the interest rate?
Correct.
Okay.
And Stacey may have something to add.
Yeah, we borrow at the time. So we're forecasting 6. The current rate is 4.96.
Okay, thank you. And then just want to ask about the timing of the borrowing and the timing of the infrastructure investments based on need and progress and build out of the development of Blatchford. And I have to ask about Blatchford Gate and just the phasing of unlocking some of the land around Blatchford Gate. My understanding and recollection is that that was one of the areas that would be done later on in terms of phasing, but I know that that station is going to be scheduled, I believe, to be opening in 2024. Can you just talk to me a little bit about that? Are there opportunities to unlock that sooner rather than later?
We continually look at opportunity. You're right, it was kind of towards the end. The northeast part of Blatchford was the last stages, which right now in the business plan show at 2038. But we've had discussions with groups that are interested in the land around there, and we'll continue to have those conversations and see if we can do something. We're also having internal discussions as to a way to activate some of the space on a kind of a quasi-temporary basis with Nate and other things, because there's a school zone area right beside it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd hate to have that station, there and not have any activation around it, just given the investment we made in that station.
Yeah, I agree. But it is good. I mean, building the LRT in advance of the community coming is not a bad idea either. So it's good that it's progressing the way it is, I think.
For sure. Great. And I guess based on not just the build out the rest of the site, but what happens surrounding that station, that could drive some additional infrastructure investments and potentially tie into the conversation we're having today around borrowing, correct?
Yeah, in terms of the utility, because it would expand up into that area as well. Yeah.
Okay. Great. And I should have started by saying really great news that the federal funding has been secured. Just understanding how rare these opportunities are. This is fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang.
Thank you for this report and kind of walking us through, especially that math portion. Just back to this question about at what point do we have to make that decision? Where do we kind of place that? I don't even know what the word is, like the funding. In this fall, when we look at the utility fiscal policy, would that be kind of the checkpoint for that conversation?
I think this fall, when we bring back the utility fiscal policy for review by utility committee, I think that's where you could consider some of the principles you've built into the policy, such as business as usual rates and the sustainability targets. That's where you could relook at them based on kind of the current environment and what's happened to date.
Right. And then by looking at the principles of the policy, that will ultimately impact, the actual kind of decision checkpoint when it comes to it. I'm just thinking out loud here.
So I think what I'm struggling with is the decision checkpoint, because you've made the decisions that you need to make for us to advance Blatchford you've got your vision and direction. What you need to do now is approve the various stages at different points in time.
Okay.
So this next stage comes with a government grant. For us to secure the government grant, we need a matching funding source. And we have time to sort out whether we can bring down the debt and find an alternative funding source, be it more grants or a revision of the utility model. And I think what we're saying is that we wouldn't construct something for which there was no demand, but what we're not saying is you would withdraw, you just wouldn't incur the expenditures. I think what we're trying to convey is we're matching cash flows over the longer period of time when they're incurred, and that period of time gives us a little bit of a chance to mitigate some of the risk. And I'll maybe see if the panel has anything to add.
I think that helps, but go ahead.
No, from the operational perspective, like we said before, we would not bring on energy centers if there's no demand in the community for it, right? Because there's obviously revenues, rate revenues, fee revenues related to connecting every single customer, right? Mm-hmm. So we're basing everything, it on a forecast, right? But we do checkpoints every year with council or this committee to see like where are we at and when do we need to trigger certain kinds of investments.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you for, I guess, adding that clarification. And so for this decision, we earmark it in the we're earmarking it for the next budget cycle, but actual expense of that might not happen until minimum 2028. I guess, like, how are you working in the contingency around that? Just recognizing, there's so much change in the last couple of years. I imagine there'll be pretty big fluctuations, or there might be, right? And would that contingency be already part of the recommendation, or do we need additional whatever?
Yes. So when we plan projects which are so much in advance, we obviously put the right amount of contingency and inflationary measures we have to our disposal, right, to come up with these costs, right? So.
Okay, that's helpful. And then you had mentioned that typically like other matching opportunities like this doesn't come by very easily, but you did mention at the provincial level, even though there's nothing active, but I guess I'm just, I guess what kind of stuff are you thinking?
Well, I think it's I don't know, but it's a very common practice to try to match funding which come from the federal with the provincial government, right? So, but yeah, that is an opportunity maybe.
But you haven't had any,
yeah, I think there were very many discussions with the provincial government, but they haven't been successful up to date.
But they remain on the
one
thing on the table. Sure. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, thanks. I'll just start by putting the motion on the floor, and that's that Utility Committee recommend to City Council that the adjustments to the 2023-2026 Blatchford Renewable Energy Utility Capital Budget, as outlined in Attachment 2 of the May 9th, 2023 Integrated Infrastructure Services Report, IIS 01821, be approved. And just a few final questions. Do we anticipate, so just speaking about sort of looking at different technologies and continuing to consider what might be the best fit, do you anticipate that there could be some flexibility with NRCan if we were to be shifting technologies in the future? My guess is that they would still only ever want to be that third, or the 30%, or is there some rigidity there?
So I believe when it comes to the agreement, there's probably some rigidity around that. So this would be discussions on a different level, I would just imagine.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's a great point, and I think actually leads to my next question, which is, why aren't there more of these grant opportunities available? It seems like very much aligned with national priorities. Just any insights on that?
I don't know. I'm not providing my personal opinion on this. Sorry.
Okay, no, fair enough. Not to put you on the spot, but I think maybe another question I could ask is there advice you could provide to us in terms of an advocacy approach that council could take when speaking to other orders of government?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this council and previous council always said the advocacy and doing what they can to talk to people you guys speak to, right? Like so, and I think part of it is that the decarbonization of the heating network is, some say it, the white elephant or the big elephant in the room for the climate problem. And I think there are, obviously every opportunity you have, we would be supportive.
Great, thank you. And just finally, a bit more speculatively, but just wondering if we have explored the feasibility of making the utility, selling shares, having a community investment co-op, looking at mutual funds. Have we looked at those financial instruments for raising capital?
So in the last budget we provided in the operating budget, we do have an item starting next year to look at I guess the potential to partner or investment to look at this in more detail. We haven't done that work yet because the utility is still very young. I think what we need to consider is exactly how we would do this and the timing of when we would do this. So that's work which is planned for next year.
That's really exciting. Great. Well, thank you. No further questions. Congratulations again for this successful grant award, and look forward to supporting the recommendation.
Thank you. A few more for me, just kind of somewhat random. In the presentation, we talked on one table that we had committed $16.5 million in December. but then the next table had that number at $28 million. Is just wondering what the difference is, and I think I know. I think it's the augmentation of Energy Center 1, but I just want to confirm that.
Yeah, so you're correct, Councillor Cracknell. So the 16.5 million you see in that first table is the expenditures approved that are eligible for the grant program. And then the second table you see with the principal, and I think you're referencing the 28 million in debt that was approved the 23-26 budget. That's all capital related in the utility, excluding the non-eligible capital expenditures. And I think Stephen said it was related to which capital project?
I believe it's Energy Center 4.
Energy Center 4. Well, that's news. What's happening in Energy Center 4?
So last year, we brought forward a business case to delay the sewer heat and instead build a peaking energy center. That's Energy Center 4.
Oh, that's the peaking center?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does the grant lapse? Is there a deadline by which we need to take the money or we lose it?
The period for the grant is 2023 to 2029. So all expenditure within that time frame are included.
So we have to spend by the end of 2029?
Yes.
Or lose it?
Yes.
So
we need to commit by the fall.
I think that's part of your question too, is we would need to commit to this program by the fall.
Yeah, essentially now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we need to spend and consume it by the end of 2029. Like, just getting back to that pressure of, do we spend money that we don't need to spend simply because it's available? And that might be a 28 or 29 consideration, that we begin to feel the pressure of not spending the grant if we get there.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
And just, it's the federal fiscal year, so it's by March 2029.
March 2020. Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Right.
Not end of their fiscal 2029. Okay. My understanding then was that the utility was somewhat linear, so that it expanded north in a linear way, and we added energy centers sequentially. So, just kind of going back to the Blatchford Gate question, can we build off, I guess technically the 3 energy centers that we will have, and serve as far north as Blatchford Gate without building another energy center, just with more distribution pipes?
Yeah, so that was a motion last year at exec committee, and work has started on this.
Oh,
so where we look at I guess, buildings or potential connections outside of the Blatchford utility service area. The question, can this be achieved with the same amount of energy centers, is a critical one, because for now we're planning with what's within the service area, but these are questions we would find out.
Well, I thought there was elements near the Blatchford Gate station that were within the service area.
Oh, sorry, yes. That would be part of the overall build out, yes.
But do we need more energy centers to service those areas up there?
No.
We can just do
it. We do in accordance to the plan.
Yeah, the answer to your question is they will. The ones we have can be servicing areas that are not next to them.
So we wouldn't necessarily have to build another energy center to service those areas within the service area around Blatchford Gate
Correct.
Station,
Yeah.
right? If we change the development sequence is what I'm getting
Yeah, the majority of the energy from our district energy system is coming from the sewer heat exchange, so it's south, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to share energy, well, it's district energy sharing system, so the energy is shared throughout the community.
I'm just concerned that we, in order to get to Blatchford Gate, we're prematurely building more energy centers and putting more holes in the ground.
No, like I said, the energy center, we're actually looking at Energy Center 4, the location right now, and it can be in a variety of places.
And that's the peaking center.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, those are all my questions. Councillor Salvador?
Yeah, just one last one, just looping back to funding opportunities and how rare they are. I'm just curious if your team has looked at the Housing Accelerator Fund at all. I know one of the permitted uses or eligible uses is community energy systems that support housing. Has that been considered? Or if not, I would just throw that out there. That's all.
I've had some discussions with Stuart in the Affordable Housing Group about the Accelerator Fund. We also have a builder that's kind of pursuing that within the communities. So not specific to the district energy system, but we're looking at it.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Any further questions? Speaking to the motion? And again, this takes it up to council, where all of council will vote on this on June 13th. Councillor Stevenson to close.
Congratulations again. Really excited to see this work go forward, and we will, I think this is a good call to action for council as well to continue to advocate for some of these grant opportunities to support this. So thank you.
Thank you. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. Are there any notices of motion or motions without customary notice? Not aware of any. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your presentation today, everyone.